Today we are going to talk about the very crucial topic, and probably this video is gonna be the most awaited video. How to solve the questions and how to memorize that answer as well. And the reason behind the selecting the question of 2073 by 17 is, the question is, what do you mean by public debt sustainability and how could Nepal's public debt structure be made better? And at first we need to write the what is public debt sustainability. So there are 7 indicators which shows public debt is sustainable or not. So in order to make Nepal's debt structure better, the following recommendation can be made. Welcome to NRB Officer YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about the very crucial topic, and probably this video is gonna be the most awaited video, because as we can see that the roadmap of our channel is solving the old questions at first, and then our roadmap will be the insight of the main topic, and then only we will cover the syllabus wise content. So we are at the present we are at the initial level, that is solving the old questions. So we are going to talk about the how to solve the questions and how to memorize that answer as well. So as we can see that we have taken the questions of the past year, that is of 2073 by 17, and the reason behind the selecting the question of 2073 by 17 is the past year before the 2073 there is the questions pattern where there are multiple questions given, and we have to choose among them and we have to write the answer. But what is the actual pattern at present? What is the actual pattern of the question? That is, we have to solve all the problems or all the questions that is given in our examination. So from 2073 verse 17 there is the question given, and we have to attempt all the questions accordingly. So we have chosen the question of 2073 by 17, and the first question of this examination, and that is from the economics, is, what do you mean by public debt sustainability? How could Nepal's public debt structure be made better? What is the question? The question is, what do you mean by public debt sustainability and how could Nepal's public debt structure be made better? And it carries 10 marks. So if there is a 10 marks and we have to solve the questions, then how many paper sheet or pages we need to write? You may think that how many pages do we need to write to justify these 10 marks? So for that, if there is no any diagram, figure, and you are writing only the content, that is in theoretical part only you are writing, then it is sufficient in writing in 3 pages. But if you are also preparing the figure as well, then it can go to 4 pages as well. And you may think that we need to write more than 4 pages also for 10 marks, but you can write. But in the examination, you do not have so much time to recall the past your materials. And what to write, you have to think it first, and how to write, you have to arrange it your mind, then only you can write. So if there is a 10 marks, you can hardly write in 3 pages. That is sufficient as well, and the rest of the questions also you need to attempt. So if you are making drawing the picture as well, you can write up to 4 pages. But if you are not writing any picture or diagram or writing in paragraph form, then 3 pages is sufficient enough to justify the 10 marks. So how can we write these answers? And the answer is here. So what was the question? Question was, what is public debt sustainability? So here we can write the answer at 3 pages. This is 1 page. This is 2nd page. And this is the last part, that is 3rd page. So at first we need to write the what is public debt sustainability. So we write in the heading answer of question number 1. So public debt sustainability, we have to write and underline it, and we have to define what is public debt sustainability. Okay, so we started from the what is public debt. Okay, so here public debt is simply defined as the borrowed money. What it is? Public debt is simply defined as the borrowed money, either by internal sources or by the internal or external sources by the country to meet its budget deficit. That is about the public debt. Now, what is public debt sustainability? Okay, we are writing the answer of public debt sustainability from here. So public debt is said to be sustainable if the existing stock of debt and its servicing cost. Servicing cost means we can say that is the interest of the debt. Okay, its servicing cost is not creating any serious pressure to the macroeconomic management of the country, and it is not likely to create such pressure in the near future. Okay, this is one sentence where we write about the what is public debt sustainability. In other words, also we can elaborate what is or how public debt is said to be sustainable. In other words, if the government is able to maintain regular and scheduled repayment of interest and principal without compromising other expenditure of the government, the public debt is said to be sustainable. So here we covered what is public debt sustainability. At first, we wrote about the public debt. Okay, and public debt is nothing but the borrowed money. Okay, borrowed money can be internal or external sources, and it is required for budget deficit. Now, public debt sustainability. Public debt is said to be sustainable if the existing stock of debt and servicing cost. Stock of debt and the servicing cost is not creating any serious pressure in the macroeconomic management of the country, and further, it is not likely to create such pressure in the near future. Likewise, in other words, also we can write, if the government is able to maintain regular and scheduled repayment of interest and principal without compromising other expenditure of the government, the public debt is said to be sustainable. Now, we wrote about the definition only, but in order to justify how or what is the parameter so that we can compare with the figure or data about the public debt sustainability, there are the so many indicators. Out of them, we have chosen 7 indicators. Okay, so that indicators are like this. There are different indicators used to assess the public debt sustainability, and the most common of them are: at first, there is the outstanding debt to GDP ratio. At the second, there is economic growth rate and interest rate. And at the third, there is debt service to GDP ratio. Likewise, if we go further, in fourth point, there is debt servicing to government revenue ratio. And the fifth, there is issue of fresh loan. And at the sixth, there is utilization of public debt. And 7, there is composition of capital expenditure and the regular expenditure. So there are 7 indicators which shows public debt is sustainable or not. And we can write about what these indicators are. Okay, so there are different indicators used to assess the public debt sustainability, and the most common of them are: first one is outstanding debt to GDP ratio. Okay, so if debt to GDP ratio is continuously declining or within a certain limit. Okay, and if you think that what is the certain limit, and according to World Bank, IMF, if there is a threshold of 70%. Okay, so within a certain limit or threshold is 70% according to IMF and World Bank, the public debt is said to be sustainable. And the second one, I will tell you how to memorize these points also. Okay, if here there is a GDP, and then if we in economic survey, generally what is the most important indicator? There is GDP, there is economic growth rate. So here also economic growth rate has came, and if there is a rate and we are comparing with the debt, then there must be also another rate, that is interest rate. Okay, and about this indicator, it is written as: if economic growth rate is greater than rate of interest on public debt, the debt is said to be sustainable. Okay, that means economic growth rate must be greater than the rate of interest, then only we can say the debt is sustainable. And the point number 3, there is a debt servicing to GDP ratio, and the definition of this is: if this ratio is declining or below 5% of GDP in general, the public debt is said to be sustainable. I have mentioned about what is debt servicing, that is the interest part of the debt. So to memorize this point, what can we say is that at first here also debt and GDP, here also debt and GDP, but here we need to talk about the interest. Here we talk about the debt, here we need to talk about the interest, that is servicing. Okay, and the definition is: if it is declining, same as above, declining, here also declining, and below the 5%, okay, of GDP in general, the public debt is said to be sustainable. Now, at the point number 4, there is debt servicing to government revenue ratio. Here also, at point number 3, there is also debt servicing. Here also there is debt servicing. And here is GDP ratio. Here we can say that is government revenue ratio. Means GDP also considered as the revenue. Yeah, government revenue, GDP. Means GDP, what is the GDP? GDP is the monetary value, okay, and government revenue also sound the similar. So debt servicing is the same, and GDP, GDP, here we can write the like a synonym. Okay, that is government revenue ratio. Not exactly synonym, but in order to memorize the point number 4, we can say that is like a synonym. Okay, and here we can write if this ratio is declining over the years or it is below the 25%. In general, the public debt is said to be sustainable. Means this ratio must be declining over the years and it must be below the 25% threshold. Then only we can say public debt is said to be sustainable. In order to memorize 25%, here is this ratio is in point number 4. So 4 means if we divide it 100 means total mark. If we divide it by the 4, that is point number 4, then there will be the value of 25. So in order to memorize, we can memorize like this. Okay. Now moving forward to point number 5, issue of fresh loan. If the government does not need to take fresh loan in order to repay interest, okay, means if the government is raising the fund or debt to pay the interest, then that is not, we can say, sustainable. So if the government does not need to take a fresh loan in order to repay interest, the public debt is said to be sustainable. Now 6. Now 5, in order to memorize this 5 number, here is fresh. Okay, so FRESS, it has 5 letters, alphabet letters. So we can memorize like this. Now 6, utilization of public debt. If the government is able to finance recurrent expenditure from its own revenue, and public debt is utilized only for capital expenditure, then the public debt is said to be sustainable. Means this is about the utilizing. So if the government is able to finance recurrent expenditure from its own revenue and the public debt is utilized only for capital expenditure, then the public debt is said to be sustainable. This is also another indicator which is easily we can understood. And the last but not the least point, that is composition of capital expenditure and regular expenditure. Here also we talk about the capital expenditure, and here also we are going to talk about the capital expenditure, but here there is regular expenditure, but here we talk about the recurrent expenditure. That is only the difference. Okay, but it is talking about the composition. 7, composition. Okay, so if the share of capital expenditure is greater than the regular expenditure, okay, capital expenditure must be greater than the regular expenditure for the loan funded project, then the public debt is said to be sustainable. Here we cover the questions of what do you mean by public debt sustainability, and it must have carried the weightage of 5 marks. So in how many pages we solved the answer? We solved the answer around 1.5 pages. Okay, 1.5 pages. How 1.5 pages? If you talk about the 1.5 pages, this is one page number and this one is second page number. Okay, so this is up to here. This is 1.5 pages. So 5 number we covered. Now moving forward to another topic or tag question. That is, the question is, how could Nepal's public debt structure be made better? In order to address this answer, we can write the heading, that is, measures to make Nepal's public debt structure better. Okay, this is the heading. We can give the underline here and we need to write the answer. In order to justify what is our actual public debt structure, we need to write some data as well, so that we can justify the answer with the figure data and we can get the more marks or more weightage in our answer writing. So, the existing public debt structure of Nepal shows more depending on external debt. We talk about the Nepal's public debt structure, and that is, we are more depending on external debt, and here also we can see with the figure at the fiscal year of 2078-79, there is external debt of 1025 crore, and which is excess or more than the internal debt, which was 987 crore. Likewise, in fiscal year 2079-80, there is external debt of 1170 crore and internal debt of 1129 crore. In order to memorize this also, we have idea 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10. In 25, we can easily memorize 25. And here also 11, 11 is similar. 11, 11 is similar. And here is 29. And here is 17. So, we talk about the data of the total debt. Now, the impact of having larger external debt as compared to internal debt are, now, what is the impact of external debt in the economy of our country? That is, capital fight in the form of debt servicing. That is, capital fight in the form of debt servicing. If there is external debt, then we have to pay back to the international country, no, means not the home country. If there was internal debt, then public debt, repayment of public debt will be in our country. But if we are repaying the amount of the debt of external debt, then it is sure that our capital flow is going to another country, that is called capital flight. And another impact will be the influence of foreign lenders. Obviously, there will be the influence of foreign lenders who are bilateral and multilateral agency, and at last, there will be the threat of being defaulter in the international community. So, this CIT, capital fight, influences of foreign lenders, and threat of being defaulter are the three major impact of having the larger external debt. Now, what is the main questions? Now we are going to answer the main question, that is, how could Nepal's public debt structure be made better? And answer will be as below. The development economies have also public debt, but dominated by the domestic debt and almost no external debt. This also indicates the debt structure should be reformed and made the domestic debt higher in share. So, in order to make Nepal's debt structure better, the following recommendation can be made. So, these recommendations are as below. Prioritize the mobilization of domestic borrowing. Prioritize the mobilization of the domestic borrowing. So at first we have to, a government must prioritize the mobilization of domestic borrowing. That is the first step government can take. And the second one is innovate or develop the domestic borrowing tools or instrument that can be the new bonds having attractive features or facilities. That is another recommendation or another measures. And the third one is minimize the cost of borrowing as far as possible. So cost minimization is also another factor or the way out to make our structure better. Similarly, another recommendation can be well planned for short-term and long-term debt or borrowing. And at last, there must be appropriate marketing and awareness of development bonds, saving certificate, T-bills, etc. Okay, so here are the 5 solutions we have given, and in order to memorize these points, what we can say is prioritize means priority. And what is at the last priority? There is T. So T means tools. T means tools. Priority we have to call as a prioritize or priority. Okay, and that is tools. And here also which sign we have prepared, that is, this is the kind of plus. So here we can write as a plus. Now what is the reason behind giving this plus sign? That means develop. Develop means to add. Yeah, developing means or innovating means that is we are creating something new. So we are adding something here. So here also new we can see. So plus means innovating or developing, and for the tools we have the priority. So T, here comes the tools. And another one is plus. If there is a plus, there must be the minus. Minus means that is minimize. What is to be minimized in the debt? There must be the cost. So it is easy. We have to minimize the cost of borrowing. Yeah, cost of borrowing means that must be the interest rate. Similarly, here also we can write plus and minus. And reason behind giving the plus and minus means long means plus, short means this sign, means it is not exact what it sounds, but in order to memorize, in order to give some kind of basis to our mind, minus means short, means deduct, and plus means long. Okay, this is also long. Okay, so well planned for short-term and long-term debt. And at the last, there is marketing and awareness and development bonds. Okay, so marketing and awareness we can see here. Okay, means at the last point there is a B. B means it is the shape of if we B. If we make it alter, it will be like this. And if there is a 2B, there will be the shape of M. Okay, so appropriate marketing and awareness on development bond, saving certificate, T-bills. And here we covered the answer of what do you mean by public debt sustainability and how could Nepal's public debt structure be made better in 3 pages. Okay, here we write all the answers in 3 pages. So I hope you like the video. I hope this is the video that you were always looking for. So if you like this video, don't forget to get connected with us For that, do not forget to like, comment and subscribe our channel.